everybody! I'm here today to answer the simple question of why do we drive on the right side of the road? In this video, I'll be giving you a simple explanation and a simple answer as to why we drive on the right side of the road. Now, I am well aware that not everybody drives on the right side of the road. A lot of people drive on the left side of the road, but I drive on the right side of the road, so that's why I'm making this video to tell you why we, as in me and the people that are generally around me, drive on the right side of the road. If you want me to make a video on why others drive on the left side of the road, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to research it and find out everything that I can about it and make a video explaining it. All right, so in order to find out why we drive on the right side of the road, you have to go way back before cars, and we have to first realize why everyone rode on the left side of the road, as in rode their horses on the left. So here's the thing, the majority of people in the medieval times were right-handed. That meant that they held their swords in their right hand. They wielded their sword in their right hand. And obviously, you want to have your sword on the side that is closest to your opponent. So in order to make that happen, you ride on the left. So they would ride their horses on the left, and they would hold their sword on the right. That meant that both people, their swords would be facing the middle of the aisle, which meant both of their swords would be facing their opponents, which made the most sense. Okay, so that's why we originally rode on the left originally. But when cars first started coming out, okay, in the early 1900s, when like the Ford model cars were coming out, the actual steering wheel was on the left. And the reason that the steering wheel was on the left was so that if you're driving on the right side of the road, well, I should say this, they engineered it with the steering wheel on the left. And then because of that, okay, they engineered it with the steering wheel on the left because they wanted to, but because of that, as a result of that, we started driving on the right side of the road. And by driving on the right side of the road, you could allow your passengers to get out onto the curb. So imagine this, I'm the driver, my steering wheel is on the left side, and I'm pulling over to let out my passengers, and I don't want them to get out on the middle of the road, so they have to get out not on the driver's side, on the passenger side. And the passenger side needed to be on the curb. Because here's the thing, if they got out on the left side of the car, they would be getting out, in the middle of the road. Okay, so basically, the passengers sat on the right side. The driver was on the left. You gotta remember, there weren't like 5-seater cars. We're not talking about, 3 rows, 7-seaters, 8-seaters. We're talking about, most of the time, it was a single steering wheel and then a passenger or 2 passengers, okay? And they were always to the right. The passengers were to the right of the car. So in order to let them out and not make them get out in the middle of the road, you had to drive on the right side. By driving on the right side, the driver was towards the middle of the road and the passengers could get out onto the curb, which made the most sense. So basically, the reason why we drive on the right side of the road is simply because when the cars were first made, the steering wheel was on the left. They were engineered with the steering wheel on the left side. And then when you let your passengers out, you wanted to let them out onto the curb, not the middle of the road. So you could only accomplish this by driving on the right side of the road. If you would make it the opposite, right? If the steering wheel was on the left and we drove on the left side of the road, then the passengers would have to get out on the middle of the road. Like I said, we're not talking about 2 rows of seats, 3 rows of seats. We're talking about, most of the time, it was the driver and a passenger seat, or a driver and 2 passenger seats to the right of the driver. So if you were driving on the left, they would have to get out in the middle of the road, which wouldn't make any sense at all. So instead, to combat that, they started driving on the right side of the road, which was the opposite of riding on the left that it had originally started with, like I said, with the horses in the medieval times. So they would drive on the right side of the road, which would cause the passengers to get out onto the curb side, which made the most sense. That's why we drive on the right side of the road, simply because cars were made at the beginning, the Ford model cars in the early 1900s were made with the steering wheel on the left. To let your passengers out, you wanted them to get on onto the curb, you'd have to drive on the right to make that happen. It's literally as simple as that. And that's it. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great car and driving videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.